Hello, my name is Dash Teachout. I'm a third-year English major with an emphasis on future teaching, and I work at the Office of the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning. Really excited to be here. Well, I've been continually impressed with your dedication in previous videos to accessibility and adaptability of the learning environment to fit the changing demographics, the increased diversity here at UCI. So what are a few specific ways that UCI is planning to continue on this trajectory of creating real social mobility?
So a couple of things. That's a really good question, because one of the challenges is, I think, the biggest thing we're doing is continuing to engage faculty in the conversation. Interesting that you asked that. I struggle with how do you talk to faculty about the fact that students are different, right? And that's okay, and it's a positive and it's a strength. We can still get the same output. We can still get that same high level of excellence we've always, sort of held universities to. But how do we get them from A to B is the question. And how do you engage faculty in the conversation of getting them from A to B? And the nice thing is at UC Irvine, most faculty are very open to that question and that challenge. And they often are just like, well, I mean, like all of us, they're busy, there's a lot of time, how do I do it? Where do I find the time? And what you start to realize is it doesn't take huge changes. What it really comes down to is understanding what it is that you expect from a culture perspective for students. And what do I mean by that? So students come from high school. And most students got by, they had to do homework because it was required, but they could have gotten by just doing the work in class, because the students that come to UCI are the smartest ones. They really are. But you get here and you're in class for maybe 3 hours, right? And many faculty just assume the students know what to do outside of class to be successful, right? And they've never had to do that before. So how do we help students understand not only that it takes 5 to 8 hours of work in this class, outside of class, but what should they really be doing? So a lot of students end up maybe doing what they did in high school. They read the book, they read the textbook, they highlight it, they mark it, but they don't know what the faculty member is looking for. Maybe they're looking for a particular type of critical reading of the book, not just reading it to get what's in it. Or maybe it's in a physics class and they're doing the homework, but they don't really know how to think about the homework, how to make sure it's more than just getting the right answer, it's also understanding the process. And this comes in just what we say in class. So I have a colleague who's really gotten very explicit, and he does some cool things. He'll say to students, this question will be on the final. Talk to your neighbor about it. Do you know how to answer it? And some of my colleagues will go, oh, you're teaching to the test or you're giving away. I'm like, well, if you really want them to know that, why not tell them ahead of time so they can know it?
Yeah, more teachers should follow that.
Now, from the students' side, I think part of it is also helping them understand, and this is kind of the last piece, is there's one of the skills we want students to learn is recognize when something that looks different is actually the same, right? So we will put things on the exam that appear to be different. And again, but we should have students practice that ahead of time. Right? We can say, this is the basic thing I want you to understand. Now there's 4 or 5 different ways you might encounter this, okay? So here's what we practiced, and we talk about it in class and we go through it in detail. Maybe I'll tell you somewhere in the next 3 assignments, a question like this will show up, but I'm not going to tell you where, right? And they have to kind of look for it and be aware and learn how to apply that knowledge. And then you put one on the final that maybe looks completely different, but it's really the same thing. But you've kind of got them used to the idea that, the way I tell it to my students is, every question in the final can be solved with these 6 things I've taught you. Even if it looks completely new, completely different, it's going to be one of these 6. And your job is to figure out which 6. So there's that intermediate space of, if what you want them to do is learn something new, teaching how to do that. And so these are the sort of conversations we're having with faculty around simple tricks. Explaining what office hours are. Right? I mean, many faculty say come to office hours, but don't explain what it's for or what it is. So there's little simple things, and then there's slightly harder, more complicated things. But I think it's just constantly having this conversation among faculty and faculty with students, and really keeping that conversation in front of everybody. So good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? I think we just planned for those, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we have to do our usual social media announcements. We can follow myself at Dennin Michael on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook at Prof. Dennin Michael.
Definitely follow.
Yeah, we have the Office of the Vice Provost of Teaching and Learning Twitter account and Facebook pages. And then this is all going to be appearing on our YouTube channel, which once we get 100 subscribers, we'll have a really easy to understand name. But for now, you just have to look for it. Okay, well, thank everyone for their time and look forward to the next Ask the Vice Provost.